Hello everyone, today I'm going to present a new video about pottery, which you are likely to encounter if you are mudlarking on the River Thames foreshore. This film should give you an insight into pottery and help you understand on how to identify them. Due to the amount of finds that I have selected, I've decided to divide the film into 4 separate parts. A fellow mudlark and friend, Richard HEMERY, has helped me with the making of this film. I will present several footage taken on the foreshore and also in my own house. Richard will comment, explain and identify each one of my finds. Please add your comments or any questions that you may have. Here is part 1. Thanks for watching and I hope you enjoy the film.
This is a beautiful find. It's the neck of a salt glazed stoneware bottle, a very large bottle I would think, up to maybe 1 or 2 gallons capacity. It's German and it was probably made in the Westerwald region. You can just see a hint of decoration starting on the shoulder. There's an impressed motif. And you can see the start of some blue glaze which have been coloured by cobalt. And I imagine that flower-like motif would have been impressed several places around the shoulder and around the pot. So it's the same sort of shape as the classic Bartman or Beardy Man face pots that people love to find on the Thames foreshore. Very similar shape, globular body, importing wine and other liquids, and probably a little later than the Bartman bottles. So we're talking here into the late 17th and early 18th centuries for this rather nice find. And these are 3 tops to large bottles or pitchers perhaps. The first one is earthenware and it's very much in the style of the Martin-Camp bottles which were imported from France. You can see it's got a very long neck and this is luted onto a sphere globe-shaped, made up of two thrown halves joined together. So whether it comes from Martin Camp or whether it's more of a local copy of that style, I'm not exactly sure. The next two are German stoneware, and they come from the Westerwald region of Germany, and they are salt glazed stoneware, and they date from the 17th century or maybe the early 18th century, and you can just see some of the glaze decoration around the very top of the bottle in the second one and on the neck of the third one. This is a lovely display of pipkin handles. Now, a pipkin is a very common piece of kitchen equipment in the late medieval period and the early post-medieval period. A pipkin is for cooking, so it was placed in the fire, and it is a vessel with a handle and three legs. So three legs will ensure its stability in the fire, and the handle is always tubular and hollow. This helps to cool down the handle when it gets hot, the vessel gets hot in the fire, but it's possible also that a stick was inserted which helped lifting the hot vessel out of the fire after the contents had been cooked. These were very widely made, both abroad and here in the UK, again from the late medieval period, although they reached a peak of popularity in the 16th and 17th centuries. Generally, the ones that were made in the boardware industry in Surrey and Hampshire had the handle which is completely open and goes all the way through into the body of the pot, whereas the ones that are made in London, generally the pot is enclosed and the handle as a hollow tube is connected on afterwards. But they're very nice finds, and you can see from this display that they were made in a variety of sizes for different cooking uses, and also in white firing clay and red firing clay as well. First piece, the larger piece at the front of this short video, is not quite a classic pipkin shape. It obviously had the same function in that it was a cooking vessel where you could pour out the contents from it, or possibly for liquid storage. I'm not exactly sure what sort of vessel this came from, maybe a large cauldron or that sort of shape. It's obviously quite a big container. And it looks to be an import from the continent, maybe from France or possibly from Spain or Portugal. There's a lovely selection of Roman pottery here and a couple of pieces that look at first sight Roman but actually aren't Roman. The first item is the rim of an amphora. Which is the standard Roman way of transporting things, maybe liquids, maybe grains as well. Other things, more solid things, were transported in these across the Roman Empire. So they are the bulk transport of their time. Very large. Some of these amphorae weighed up to 25 kilograms, and they are commonly found on shipwrecks where they were being transported in quantity, and also in warehouse sites. So they're not unusual to find on the Thames, you know, where they were loaded and unloaded from vessels, but a very nice find. The second piece is very interesting. This is part of a roller stamped flue tile. So it's a tile which was used in the hypercaust systems. So in high status buildings such as baths and the more expensive sort of villas and governors' quarters, things like that, for wall and underfloor heating. So they are hollow tiles and they were roller stamped with different designs. This has got a very nice lozenge design on it, impressed into the clay using a roller stamp, and it's a lovely piece of Roman tile from a high status building. The third item here is the base of a Roman pot, and it is colour coated ware, so it's not a glaze, it's actually a slip made up of liquid clay in a contrasting colour. And it sort of weathers to produce this rather sort of faded, scratched surface, which is very indicative of this Roman pottery. These colour-coated vessels were made in several centres, the 2nd and 3rd and early 4th centuries AD. Nene Valley was one area that produced a lot of pots which were sent to London. The lovely piece of greyware at the end is part of a Roman cooking pot, and this most definitely is Roman. You can tell by the rounded rim. But it's nice to see that there is some sooting on the side from the fire in which this pot sat to make the food that the Roman family would be eating that day. The greyware industries, very large industries in Roman times, stretching right through the Roman period from the 1st to the 4th century AD, and produced a lot of kitchenware and storage vessels. last piece is a lovely piece of Roman terra sigillata, also known as Samian ware. Again, this is not glazed, it's a slip, and so it's slightly more subtle than a glaze. Very little Roman pottery is glazed, it's very rare. The slip has been worn away from the top of this base of a bowl, but underneath you can see the colour that the Samian would have been originally. It's a very interesting piece because the maker of the pot has actually stamped his name into the surface of the middle of the bowl where it would be seen prominently. It looks like it's Festus. So a potter named Festus, somewhere in Gaul or possibly in Germany, where it was produced later in the Roman period, has made this pot, stamped his name onto it, and then it's been shipped into Roman London and lost and ended up in the Thames to be found. Now the next two pieces we have here are probably not Roman. The first has got a slight curve in the clay and a rather regular pattern of impressions, which is a bit too regular to be Roman, I think. It might be from a very large storage pot or even a chimney pot or a drain pot, and is probably dated to the Georgian period, but at first sight it could be taken for Roman. The second piece looks like the top of an amphora, but it's a little too small for that, and actually the shape is more that of post-medieval olive oil pot, which were produced in Spain and shipped across Europe and to the New World, containing olive oil, and the tops look very similar to Roman amphorae. In fact, the fabric, the pottery that they were made of, was the same clay that they used in Roman times in Spain to make amphorae from as well. So there's no surprise that they look very similar. And they had a similar purpose in taking oil in bulk shipping. But this is probably post-medieval, 16th or maybe early 17th century. The tesserae, or mosaic pieces, again, are difficult to date. They could be even as late as Victorian, you know, when they had a nice revival of mosaic pavements. So they could be Roman or they could be as late as Victorian.